Fam. Alright, let's jump right into it with your man, Umar Johnson. This had to be done, but before we get started, I just want to get this out of the way. Because there are a few people, by way of panels, platforms, anonymous users, whatever, they're curious about or even offended about how I got my name, the Nappy Yankee. Okay, first off, I'm not from the South, I'm not a colonist or whatever. The tension between the North and South, I'm not interested in that. My family's from the island Jamaica. I was born in Brooklyn. Caribbeans refer to Americans as foreign or Yankee. And I have nappy ass here. So put it together, what do you have? Nappy Yankee. I plan to switch things up as we go along the way, but for now, Nappy Yankee it is. Now, why this video? Why now? Well, for a lot of you, this isn't a new subject. We've heard from the anti-fraud warriors. We've heard about the womanizing, the supposed drug use. We've heard from the conscious community, somewhat. We've heard from his followers who hang on his every word, or just passive observers who conclude that this guy's a piece of shit. And we also heard the scamming, and let's just call it what it is. I mean, Umar has what I call a few character issues. But nobody has really gotten into how bad this guy's judgment is, to the point that he's almost in an alternative universe. Like, let's say we're playing baseball. You're up to bat. And you have to approach the plate with the bat. Umar, on the other hand, approaches the plate like he's playing handball. So he walks up and tries to hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball with his arm like he's playing handball. This is basically how this guy thinks. So we should have known this the first time when he roamed that Virginia campus. And I'm thinking to myself, even if he were to attain part of this school, how's he going to maintain the toilets? But Umar has this way of divorcing logic from reality when selling the dream to his audience. And listen, he sold how to buy an entity without even any motivation that seems to maintain it. Now, watching Umar over the years, we've all heard him say things like this.
Because when we have the grand opening, if you haven't donated, you can't come. If you haven't donated, there's no need for you to be walking in my doors. We've been raising money for 6 years. We've been raising money for 6 years.
Well, I don't know what counts as a donation for Umar, but if I personally gave you $25, I feel that I've donated to the cause. That's me, folks. This is 3 years ago in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn, at an event at a church with Papa himself. When I went there, everything was set up kind of like an RBG swap meet / campaign trail. And what do I mean? You had books, you had herbs, you had African gear, you had Umar Johnson pins with his picture on it. Yeah, pins with Umar Johnson's picture on it. Now look, like many of us, support black business, I get it. And I did miss the lecture / speech, but I did wait for him. He was surrounded by a bunch of people when he came out, of course. I ran to the front of the line with the book in tow, got the photo, autographed, posted it to ISG, and since then I took it down because over the past 3 years, the wheels really started to fall off with this supposed school. And when you're dealing with a scam artist, I liken it to a person trying to get from one side of the creek to another side of the creek in a leaky tugboat. And the only thing plugging up the holes is the BS that you have for the sheeple. So let's say somebody pokes a hole through one piece of the BS. Then the guy sends 5 more pieces of BS to cover up the last piece of BS. And this process continues, wash, rinse, repeat. Doesn't matter if the next answer is worse than the first. It doesn't matter as long as the hole is plugged up and you make it to the other side. And this is why I understand now the frequency of why anti-Afro Spengali has to come at Umar's neck every day, because it seems that every day there's a new lie with Umar. and a new hole to plug up. So you need somebody to keep up with the lies. And look, full admission, I really thought something was wrong with this chick. I'm just going to keep it honest. I mean, I thought they knew each other. Or maybe she and Papa hooked up when he was out in town giving a speech and he never called back, and this was she was a scorned woman and this was her way of getting back. I don't know, but seriously, it just got to the point where there were too many lies with Umar. Somebody had to gather receipts. So I'm going to try to play the reverend here, and as every reverend, at the end of each speech, they always give an altar call at the end. So Umar's heard all the warnings. He's heard about, succumbing to his alleged demons, possible jail time, but I'll give a warning I think he'll be able to relate to, because from everything that's transpiring right now, this tugboat is approaching an iceberg in a hurry. So I had a day off. I went ahead and I had to get my car fixed, so I left it at a dealer. They gave me a loaner car, which is just another way to entice you to get a new car, which I liked anyway because the car had a silent engine, so it was good. So figured it was a free ride. I took the car down there and just took a look for myself to see what this was about. Now, one of Umar's major talking points is weighing the options of charter schools versus a private school that he supposedly wants to own. So let's take a look at both of them for a minute. Okay, so you're asking, why do I have a picture of Dame Dash? Well, this isn't about Dame per se, but this relates a little bit to his story, because Dame, for anyone who knows about hip-hop, he grew up in Harlem, and these projects right here, the 1199 Plaza in East Harlem. I know it looks a little newer because, as you know, Harlem is changed, is gentrification, etc. So it doesn't look like too much of a project now. But as a youth, while his friends stayed in the hood, Dane's mother shipped him downtown in a suit and tie to a private school called Dwight. I'm not kidding. Dwight School. Now the joke is Dwight is actually an acronym called Dumb White Idiots Getting High Together. Seriously. So basically a school for rich, spoiled white kids. Anyway, I personally believe that this experience helped shape Dame's outlook on life beyond the hood, to the point that when his mom passed when he was 15, 16, he got into the street game. This is according to him. And within a year or so, he was rolling around in flashy cars, Maximas, Jeeps, etc. See, on the street, you got bosses and you have workers. He wasn't a kingpin or anything, but I'm guessing that all those trips downtown from the slum to downtown to a very rich part of Manhattan inspired him to become, or at least act like, a boss. Now, that's a private school. This is a charter school. This is the Academy in Hempstead, New York. Notice all the stores. Notice how clean the block is, the soul food shop, the laundromat, the big church. The block is clean, not jacked up, nobody loitering, etc. Now, as we turn the corner on this block, what are we approaching? The hood. Notice how the buildings get darker. There's a reason for that too, because it adds to the hopelessness and darkness of your existence. This is what the hood is designed to do. But this particular hood, by the way, this is Terrace in Hempstead. A lot of your favorite rappers have roots here. You got Prodigy, Method Man, P.E. If you go back far enough, Granddaddy IU. Anyway, as you leave that block, notice the daylight. Down the block, you see stores, shopping. You know what I mean? Just a little more hope is what you see. Here's why I showed that. Because we can argue the difference between charter schools and private schools. Like, they're both independently owned. But the charter school, they're backed by for-profit private companies. Whereas the private schools, they're funded by tuition, grants, endowments, and you guessed it,
donations. Donations. Donations.
So let me tell you something. You can live off donations. All right, just a few Christmases back, maybe over a decade, I took a part-time job delivering newspapers in Port Washington. It was a rich part of Long Island, and the houses, they're a mile apart from one another. And one of the co-workers told me while I was working, they said, look, put in return envelopes in their mailboxes because you're going to get a nice Christmas bonus. And I did that, and guess what? Over a 2-3 week period, I made over $3,000 in tips. So if you're in a private school, whether it's religious based, there's a lot of religious rich folk. Maybe female based, there's a lot of rich women, LGBT based, etc. All of this would make sense if Umar's target market was rich people and not a bunch of black single mothers from the hood. So he wants an African based school, fine. Does he have an African country sponsoring him? Or an African leader? Anyone who would go sniffing distance of a boarded up black hole that he hasn't been in or worked in within 18 months. Where are they meeting? Is this his office? Yeah, we're going to get into that in just a second. Okay, so we've seen this before, right? Umar touring the famed FDMG campus. I made a split video. His vid is on the left, my video is on the right. And that area he's coming from around is the back entrance while I'm going in. And you see it's boarded up. I don't think anyone's been inside there in months, so I can't even imagine what's inside there right now. But as far as the neighborhood, go pick up a copy of HBO's The Wire, which is, among other things, depicts the different aspects of the hood. This place, it's like between the hood and hell. All right, so this is me walking around the back. Just a couple of observations. First off, there should be a fence blocking this place off. All right, a barbed wire one. and the grounds aren't kept. So 18 months and absolutely no keep up, no upkeep. By the way, the arson charge. Remember when Umar posted up this meme and pulled it back down in short order on July 12th? Well, 2 days later. What's that? Here's me, July 2020. Dates, times, receipts. Here it is, July 14th, right? Wilmington, etc., etc., etc. Got all the receipts. So, back to the trap house. Can you imagine what happens behind this building at night? I mean, seriously. By the way, if there was a fire, where are the do not cross, where's that do not cross tape that the fire department usually posts up? Or instead of a meme, you don't have a post of the police report, the fire report? I mean, I guess people are that stupid. All those donations. Umar, and you couldn't buy a good blower, okay, to blow this shit out right here? Lawnmowers cost $50, $70. I mean, or hire a good landscaper or something. Oh, speaking of that, I'll have a surprise for you a little bit later, but check this out right here. Why, after 18 months, is this sign not replaced with this? I mean, doesn't a lion kill the bloodline when he takes over a pride? And what are those, futons? I mean, is this the school or the alternate trash receptacle for Wilmington? Why am I showing this map of FDMG? Look around. FDMG, as you see on the map, is surrounded by a few places, including the Boys and Girls Club, a doctor's office, etc. Why am I showing this? Because Umar, as you've witnessed over the past couple of years, stays on fuck shit. You've seen him recently threaten people, sending his minions after folks, etc. So throughout this video, I'm going to do my best to protect the innocent. The man I'm about to speak to, he works at one of these spots on the map, and his association actually put a bid on this dump. Okay, so I wasn't aware that my camera was running during the exchange, but afterwards I found out, so he told me a mouthful. If you don't mind asking, was that school ever affiliated with that?
No.
No? Whatever happened?
That was a charter school, but they didn't get, number one, they stopped getting funding, and then number two, they started scoring really low.
Really low?
Yeah, low on their test results and different things, SAT and stuff, so they shut them down and took it from them.
Really?
Yeah, the bank took it from them. So now a guy supposed to have it by the name of Umar Johnson. I don't know if you ever heard of him before. He's like an activist for the black community.
Right.
He'd be on Facebook and different things like that.
Right.
So,
okay, first off, what casually known street activist just swoops in and buys a property like this without any known backing? But look, by this guy's tone, I think he knows what's going on.
Facebook and different things like that.
Right.
So he's supposed to have the building now. Supposed to be doing something with it, making an all-boys school, teaching them financial literacy and stuff like that. But ain't nothing been moving over there quite yet. So
How long has he had it?
he had it for about since the ending of last year, I think.
Actually, it's been 18 months, but who's counting at this point?
End of last year.
I think so. Yeah, still haven't moved yet. So I don't know if he's looking for funding. They said it's a big scam going on with him, and you know, scamming people out of money, different things. I don't know, but it's a big.
You think? But listen up, because this next statement absolutely blows my mind.
You know, how much do you think this would cost to, like, I mean, just looking around?
Well, that building right there alone, when we looked into it, was like 10.
10 million.
It's like 10 million.
10 million just to open it.
No, 10 million just to own it.
10 million to own it.
Yeah, so it's this building, and then there's 2 more buildings that's connected to it across the street from it.
Here's what I don't get, and maybe you Umarians of the world can help me out with the math. He collected between a low of $750,000 to a high amount of about $2 million. All right? So the first question that comes to me is, if this place was actually going for $10 million, why would they sell it to Umar, a man who looks basically homeless at this point, for 4% of the value at about $400,000? Almost like you go to the Mercedes dealer. You want to buy an AMG E-Class for $100,000, and the dealer, knowing that all you got is $4,000, says, you know what, I'll just give it to you for $4,000, and we'll just finance or whatever. Wouldn't a red flag pop up? Like, how many miles are on the engine? Does it even have an engine? But somehow he got it at 4% of what it's worth. So that's a great deal if you're a real estate mogul. You got some connections. You got money to burn. But if you're a petty activist that doesn't even have a team to speak of, it looks like you were taken for a sucker. But let's say Umar on the low is some real estate whiz and he got a good deal. All right, let's look at this from the high end. He got $2 million minus the $400,000. Let's say $450 with taxes and whatever. You still got $1.5 million change, but then you owe $100,000 in taxes. All right, you got $1.4 million change. You're still left with $1.4 million. Out of that $1.4 million, you couldn't buy a fence. You couldn't buy a lock. You couldn't pay for landscaping. 18 months. Okay, well, wait a minute. Maybe he got a mortgage. All right. If the mortgage is under him or his business or someone else, because see, now that's when the personal issues come into play. Because we get back into the child support issues. If you have child support issues, that means that it's going to affect your credit report. So how does this man even get a good rate? So let's be nice. I'll be generous. You get a rate of 8%, given your finance history. Now, that's about $3,000 per month for the mortgage. You should still have over $1.4 million left. 8 figures, you can't even buy a lawnmower to cut the grass?
So all 30 of them.
So 10 million to own it.
Yeah.
Then, you know, it looks like it needs some fixing up too.
Oh yeah, it needs some fixing up, and just those air conditioning units on top, they like $30,000 a piece.
That is not an exaggeration. Remember, all you did was purchase the property. You still haven't included the amenities yet. So when he mentions air conditioners, he's not talking about the cheap $50 Walmart shits at your house. He's talking about these big HVAC roofies that are wire connected throughout the building that blows air through the walls. Not the little things that you click on and off at your cribs. And it also costs about $15,000 just to install them. So there you go. You got to maintain it. Repairs, contractors, insurance, unions, everything.
People already picked them apart. They already picked them apart the moment they
$30,000
closed.
a piece just for the air conditioning.
Just for the air conditioning units.
Then you gotta fumigate the place.
Then you gotta fumigate the place. People that already broke in. That's why they took stuff, vandalized it.
I'm just asking because you know what? Because I work in New York.
Okay.
Actually, you know. had opened a women's store, and
Okay.
I had started working there when they opened it up.
Okay.
Just the product alone, there's a lot of people where hands go, there's different types of contracts and hands go through.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
just to fix an air conditioning, 30,000.
That's about 30, and they have like
Then you
at
gotta
least
clean
2 or
out the
3.
place.
That's 3. So times that number times 3. It's close to another $100,000.
Make sure that there's no mold.
Asbestos, all that type of stuff. You know how they go. And that's a do it. So a guy named Umar Johnson, he has it. And you can look him up on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll do that.
He's supposed to have it, and that's all I know right now.
Thank you, sir.
No problem, my brother.
Okay, from there we're going back to the Roach Motel. And we're on the right-hand side of the school now. You see the stairwell with rusty, bent-up handles like a hurricane blew it over. Still no evidence of a fire, no cameras, the trees and the brush unkept and everything. Listen, forget arson. If the cops came, probably the first time a person would be arrested for not blazing this joint. But listen, and also I'm in the hood right now, so I apologize. The cameras are all over the place, but stranger with cameras in the hood, that might raise a little suspicion. But we're getting up to something right about here. Alright, so before I toured the school, I wanted to get a snack. So I went around the corner to this place across from the gas station. So only giving window service. Now think about it, usually in the hood, they wait until after dark to close the doors. This is mid-afternoon, so, but anyways, you see the block. By the way, the photos are recent, alright? So I stayed in the ride, and one of the best parts about this car I got is that it has a silent engine, so that can kind of heighten my discretion. But didn't notice the store across the street, but I lost my appetite at that point. But as you can see, the map with FDMG, it's a 7-minute walk. 2 blocks from Little Africa. I put it over at 1608 Thatcher off of East 17th Street, where the school is located. Alright? And the same block of FDMG, and you see this? We're moving up a little bit. You see this? Let's move it up just a little bit more. That, right there, move it up. That is that. Alright. What is a weed and seed community? Google it. Look up the definition, and automatically Department of Justice comes up. There's a red flag. Gangs come up. Crime comes up. Drugs come up. In layman's term, weed equals weed out the drugs, the crimes, the gangs. Seed, you plant seeds of prevention, change, hope, etc. Didn't I say this place was like The Wire? Now, the Umarians who see Umar as some type of superhero are probably thinking, yeah, but that's what he was coming to try to do, to change things, blah, blah, blah. Oh, wait a minute. He's been here for 18 months, and he clearly can't even keep the grass clean, so how's he going to clean up the neighborhood? You know, in a recent interview, he was complaining about the supposed break-ins and fires and car crashes on the property. You think maybe if he saw these signs around the neighborhood, he might have foreseen this? Didn't I tell you his judgment was jacked up? And this goes back to the example about buying a car that I talked about. They sold him this property for supposedly worth about $10 million for 4% of the value. No red flags came up whatsoever. So if his judgment is this bad, how do you trust him with your kids? And like I said earlier, I didn't want to touch on his personal issues because we all have them. But now I'm beginning to see how the personal issues tie in. See, it's one thing if you have personal issues that just hurt you and only you, and it doesn't affect anyone else. But this right here, this is clearly spilling over. Alright, so back to the scene of the crime. The grass and the brushes still aren't done. Couple more vacants to look at. Oh, by the way, remember the neighborhood in Hempstead where you had all of those nice stores down from the school that you can look at? Here in this neighborhood, you go down and you have a freaking liquor store. So when the amphetamines run out, is this where the reserve is? Or, I mean, and again, this is 18 months. No pictures from Umar saying, hey, let's clean up this place. Okay, so we're turning back. Clearly, Ned the Wino stopped by. I mean, look, what is this? I mean, all of those people jumping up and down in the gym and nobody even mentioned weed and seed. And here we are in an abandoned church, or even Jesus broke north from this joint. I mean, you remember when they used to say how the church and the liquor store were across the street from each other in the hood? I mean, in here they're next door neighbors. So it's just crazy. Obviously, you know, like I said, the grass and everything is still jacked up and everything. And it's just, the whole thing's just a hot mess. It really is. Okay, so we've all seen videos like this of Umar acknowledging his boys.
Shout out to the chef. Shout out to the chef. He been keeping the campus clean for me and the donors.
And of course, you heard this one.
Donate the time and the labor.
Well, he came through. Meet your security/groundskeeper. Missing teeth and all. Let's just call him Leon.
Nice shady spot, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Ain't much out here, but a little bit. It's working.
When is the school open?
They're gonna open back up. It's gonna be a minute though because they broke in the school and split the school off there, but it's gonna be all black boys school, like Louisiana.
Is it? Black boys school?
It's gonna be all black boys school. But the guy that owns it, he's full black, so everything ain't nothing coming here where it's all black. He about black food. He full black. Dr. Umar.
Now, bear with him because dude does speak in a lot of broken English, but I was able to get a lot of it. Like I said, you know, I'm going to protect dude's face because it's easy for people to become a meme, and I don't think dude deserves that. But you'll find out later on why I called him Leon. Let's continue.
That's his name, Dr. Umar?
Umar Johnson, yeah. He owns the school, but I'm just doing security, waiting for nobody coming in and breaking this motherfucker and start stealing shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, once they start putting materials in here to fix it, they gotta need somebody to sit around, so.
Looks like you're gonna need a lot of work, man, to, you know, fix this joint.
Outside, the hardest part on the outside is the paint job and keeping the grounds up. That ground's gonna be kept up. We just started doing it like not even a month ago, so.
But the inside, though, I mean,
Well, actually, believe it or not, this school is basically brand fucking new, man.
Is it?
Like this, like part of the school over here, one side over here is messed up because everybody went in there and broken up different shit. But the other side of the school is like it looked when they first opened it up. It's brand new. All the classrooms still set up, still pretty in there. There's this one part over here is messed up where somebody started a fire in the science room in one of those little metal boxes.
You saw the fire?
Somebody set a fire in there, but it burnt the metal box. So when the fire company came in, they put a hole through the roof in that one class so the smoke go out. So instead of messing the whole school up.
Right. You saw the fireman?
But now I ain't see the fire, but I've been inside and seen this.
So he hasn't seen hide nor hear the fire. Just like everybody else.
But when the owner came back, we was inside that one the other day.
I mean, shoot. I mean, it looks like a good school, though, man. I guess it has potential.
Now, when it was open one time. It was open because it was both schools, high school and middle school. And
Why'd it close?
I don't funds. I think the funds. Something happened with the funds. And
They stopped sending the funds.
Yeah, something in the funds. So so when my man took over, he's making it all black, man. Everything black, man.
Yeah, this joint right here, I'm telling you, it looks like they're gonna have to like knock it down and rebuild it,
I
bro.
don't know now. The school been here 3 years, but it's brand freaking. It was here 3 years, been 3 years.
But when did they close it?
It only had one season.
When they closed it?
Like 2018, 19 maybe. So maybe a year and a half, 2 years maybe. You know what I mean?
There was actually an article talking about how a lot of the schools around this area are going to be closing down for obvious reasons, which begs the question why he would want to start to build a school in a weed and seed location with limited resources.
But like I said, on this side here is still brand spanking new. You just step over here, somebody went in here and stole copper and stole shit out of here.
Copper?
Wire, plumbing and piping and all that shit. You know, you go to scraps and all that stuff, man. People killing, man.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, bro. Just looking at is the Boys and Girls Club? Is that also part of the school? Or what?
It's open though. They almost shut them down, but
They did right. They went and put them big money rifles in their pocket and kept the boobies. It's like Kingswood. They put them big money rifles in there and kept Kingswood open. They was gonna shut Kingswood down. Right now, this from here, this boys club in Kingswood and Frames boys club still open, but the boys club out there on Jackson Street, they shut that down.
By the way, whose idea was it to have a school here to begin with? I mean, you need a precinct here, not a school. But he's going to run a little bit about his background, and I'm sure he told Umar as well. Let's continue.
Yeah, I boxed through them, man. Came through that boxing through them, man.
Oh, you box?
I used to box through them, man, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
I used to box through them back in the day. Me and Lou Owens and all this, used to box through them cats, man, back in the day. When Lou Owens came out of the center city.
Lou who?
Lou Owens.
Lou Owens, okay.
So basically, Umar recruited one of the Spinks brothers to do his dirty work. This is why I refer to this guy as Leon. Here's why this is important. Boxing is a poor man's sport. All right, you don't hear about many sons or kids of rich athletes or rich dudes getting into boxing. Usually, it's a person out of poverty, literally fighting your way out of the hood. So they do this in the hopes of getting that $100, $200, $300 million purse for one match. But in the meantime, they're taking numerous shots to the head throughout their careers. All right, these guys aren't even able to think or talk straight when it's all over. And these are the people that make it. I mean, this is why some of these guys come back. I mean, right now there's a matchup they're trying to do with Tyson and Roy Jones. Heck, even Mayweather's talked about fighting again. So these are the guys that made it. But the guys that don't make it, who clearly don't make it out, they still get the same blows to the head. The same demons to deal with, but without money. So somehow Umar convinced this dude to do security and grounds work in a dangerous neighborhood for an abandoned hole that's never going to open. Shame.
I'm looking at it, obviously as somebody with the money, I mean, like millions of dollars.
Oh, he got the brother is like 45, 46. That nigga got paper.
You gotta play that again. Listen to how he says paper.
Millions of dollars.
Oh, he got the brother is like 45, 46. That nigga got paper.
This man hasn't just drunk the Kool-Aid. He's literally inhaled the popper powder. My goodness.
Does he?
Plus he does a lot of he's a doctor of black how you pronounce it? Psychology. Black he speak that old history stuff. He's heavy on black history. And he goes around and do a lot of speeches and colleges. He does a lot of colleges, go to different colleges. And he's a professor at one of those colleges. He hang out at up in PA, but
he just doesn't say which one, although it is hard to keep up when you got 6 degrees that you're juggling. But anyway, we're here still chopping it up and just having a little bit of small talk and everything.
It's some gentrification type of thing.
right.
But even like this over here, man, I mean,
Now the window, I mean, take the boys off the windows over here. The windows are everything brand new. It's boarded up because they avoid everybody from breaking in here and everything. The windows are everything's in good condition. Just the boards are making it a little bad because they just covered them up. Just take the boards off. The school guy and we had a paint job on the outside and keep the grass cut and cut all that stuff off the side on the side of the building. This building will be all right. Like that one up, that's the gym part up there. That first building up there on the corner is the gym.
yeah. If I was him, I would just get like one building and just start off small and just like build it up, because you're gonna need, even with the pipes, when it stays stagnant like this, then you're gonna need contractors for that. You'll need contractors for the windows. There's gonna be a lot of money that's gonna be passing through.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So all right. I mean, when is so wait, I guess you're the security guard here for him, like during the day?
I stay around till like I got shifts where I come in like this morning. I came in at 8. I took my break at 11 and I supposed to came back at 2, but I stayed here early. Stay here because the guy just came through, checked the sprinkler system out. The guy's doing the sprinkler system and the fire stuff, connection, all that stuff. We're going and checking that out, and then got another guy coming in soon to do the roof. To patch the roof up from the trees and put holes in the roof. And
Right.
they get then over here, they got some people coming through. Then tomorrow, me and the other guy that normally keep the place up, he's coming tomorrow. So we're gonna have it locked down. Then I got people coming in and do the paint work.
Paint work inside?
Outside.
Oh, okay. Oh, like that right there.
The whole studio.
Nice paint over, huh? More on that later.
Building, all the buildings getting painted over.
Okay. I mean, listen, good luck with it, bro. I'm just, obviously, if the school, he does right by the school and everything.
Yeah, so basically we're just, chopping it up a little bit and yeah, I mean, you pretty much see for yourself the paint job, just everything is crazy. We did speak about where the parking is because there's nowhere to park. And he was talking about the parking will be in the Boys and Girls Club in the back, which also has no room, which is pretty crazy. So, yeah, this is the chef. This is whenever you see Umar walking around saying, "I got this guy right here, I got that guy right there." This is the guy. This is the chef. This is Leon or whatever you want to call him. So, yeah, and that's the paint job and whatever. So, pretty crazy. Okay, so you see the crappy paint job, and by the way, I'm still talking to Leon, who's basically telling me about the other supposed crew that's coming out to cut the grass and paint and whatever. So I go around the corner, and I guess this is the gym or the garbage dump. You're gonna see the trash is just dumped anywhere, and you're gonna hear me say, "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry.
Right about now. And who or what did I say that to? I said it to this girl right here. She had to be in her mid to late teens, but that could have been anything right there. That mess around, that could have been her pimp that jumped out, whatever. I know it was hot that day, and everybody needs shade, but to be at the window right next to the garbage. Anyway, so I ran across the street, and for those who need the address, here's the address on the no trespassing sign. As for the sign, I mean, like I said, I have no desire of entering this joint unless I want to be that first ever Scooby-Doo mystery that goes unsolved. You know what I'm saying? So, for those who need it, that's the address. Now, Leon, the security guard, gardener, whatever. I mean, he allowed me to roam the FDMG courtyard, a zoo, space, whatever he wants to call this at this point. Still boarded up. It's still weed central. It's still unclipped. But check this out right here. I mean, in a crime-ridden area, this is your lock? Again, you purchase this place with no reserves. You can't get a decent lock like this around the doors of an abandoned building. It's common sense, right? I mean, I myself could have walked right in. But anyway, as we continue the tour of the courtyard, I'm gonna just shift gears right now to another Umar critic. This is Monty Woodgrain, and he's touring the campus right now. As you can see, this was like a month after Umar supposedly opened the school. I got the links below. You can subscribe to his page, etc. And this is about 2 months before. This one right here is with 2 months before, and I have the links too, with the wig and everything. He's standing at the spot that I'm walking towards now. You see those cement bricks holding up the door? Those same bricks. Like that's gonna keep anybody out. Wonder why there's no electricity in the building, by the way? 18 months you couldn't at least, I don't know, some anti-rust or just cover this shit? And here's me. Only different thing is that obviously, a board is holding this thing up. Oh yeah, you heard Umar talk about somebody driving a brand new Benz on the sidewalk and crisscross all the rocks and chairs through the garbage, bump off the electrical panel, driving through the goddamn fence? I mean, I'm just asking again, are y'all that stupid? Anyway, this is Monty again, walking through the garbage, going, I guess there's another side door over there, and this is me walking through, and as I'm looking at the junkyard, I see how and I'm just look at all this shit on the ground. I'm just wondering, how in the world does Umar sit in this? There's a saying in the military, adapt and adjust. So, I mean, if you visit this place, you literally have to look like a crackhead or a cockroach just to assimilate in this place. So, for all those accusing Umar of that nose candy, there might be some method to his madness. So, just keep that in mind. But anyway, like I said, Garbage everywhere. And by the way, you can rent, Umar, you can rent out a decent garbage pail for a couple of bucks. For a couple of bucks, I'm just saying. Remember the scene, that spot with all the brush? When I went over, this is Monty going over there, and here's my video with all the graffiti painted over, like they just threw a can of paint on there. I mean, it doesn't look like any professional painters actually did this. So, really, I mean, we're talking 2 months, really 18 months of no traction, while the founder is walking around this dump, picking up garbage with his bare hands and dropping it next to him as he sits down on his throne. It's like Umar's trolling us. I mean, he has to be, because what serious parent or investor is going to take this seriously? Okay, so this was right before I left. This is where the girl and garbage was located. All the bacons, you can see them. All right, like I said, the school is right in the middle of the hood. Weed and seed. Remember that term. I got up for a minute just to get a better look. Basically, the last time I left my car before the highway, see the police line across the street, of course. Leon is still lurking, as you see. Okay? And before I left, I just wanted to visit the Boys and Girls Club behind the school. You see the workers from the spotted lanternfly. Lanternflies, by the way, are bugs that kill crops, and I think they were barking up the wrong tree. They should have went to the FDMG for the source of any infestation at this point, or whatever. I just drove around, because Leon said this could be a good parking lot or an alternate parking lot for FDMG. But as you can see, the contractors are still working during the pandemic, so if Umar uses that as an excuse, and obviously you see all the rusty pipes as well, you know what I mean? But if he uses that as an excuse, you already know that it's BS. I mean, let's go back to Hempstead for a second. And you see the cranes. And oh yeah, you're going to see the signs. This is an official no trespassing sign with a camera warning. So you don't have to, you don't have to have the camera or keep out or no parking or just basically beat it, etc. But again, this is under the assumption that Umar has a legit school. And he doesn't. By the way, here's another construction site. Don't fall for the BS. I mean, right now people are working left and right. This is, whatever story he gives you is a bunch of BS. And oh yeah, as you can see, you're still allowed to have electricity. Just saying. If you want to take a break from all the negative stereotype images of black men, watch a movie with the black male teachers in it, or a black school. I don't know why that is, or given that our image gets hammered as black men on a daily basis. But anyways, first movie that really introduced me to this image was To Sir with Love. It's another groundbreaking work by Sidney Poitier. It's about a Caribbean immigrant, Mark Thackeray, who recently received his degree in engineering, but he can't find work. So, to make ends meet, he takes a job as a teacher at a London school on the rough side of town, full of misfits and troublemakers and rejects who, through his calm demeanor and desire to see them succeed, gradually earn them their respect, to the point where he even rejected a job to stay with them, and they end up living happily ever after. Over the years, other movies followed. Obviously, Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman. Mr. Darnell was in the same movie. You had Courtney Vance in Dangerous Minds, Higher Learning with Lawrence Fishburne, Charles Dutton in Menace, and Sam Jackson in Coach Carter. You even had the substitute with Ernie Hudson, who played a rogue principal, but a leader nonetheless. And I'm guessing that's the character that Umar wants to play, going into the community, turning around wayward boys, and coming out a hero at the end in another episode of Super Infantunde. Maybe the best movie that can parallel who Umar is the 1987 movie The Principal with Jim Belushi and Lou Gossett Jr. It's about a new principal that joins forces with a security guard in a drug-infested high school to clean it up. And it's centered around Rick Latimer. He's a high school teacher with a drinking problem that starts off the film beating up his ex-wife's boyfriend, who just happens to be her divorce lawyer. So the school board, as a promotion, / punishment transfers him to the worst school in the district. So he recruits the head security guard, is played by Lou Gossett Jr., to help him to rid the school of the crime element led by one Victor Duncan. Predictably, they have a standoff at the end, and somehow this middle-aged white guy overpowers this group of young thugs single-handedly in front of a cheering crowd of students, and he rides off into the sunset. And I mean, look, it's a predictable, cheesy movie with a cornball ending. I get it, but maybe that's Umar's vision, to crack skulls and regulate, and at the end of the day, ride off into the sunset. But can you really see Umar putting a smackdown on anybody? I mean, even the Ricky Latimer character knew how to hire right. Lou Gossett's character as a head security was a regulator. This guy was throwing cats out of windows, over ledges, with a take no prisoners attitude. That is what you need for a school like that. But you go from something like this to Leon. See, here's what some of you don't get. Let's say that there is a break-in, and this man is clearly sold on the farce of a school, and he's clearly sniffed up the Umar juice. Let's say there is a break in the school and this guy gets hurt or even killed. Is Umar paying for the funeral? Will he even visit? Or worse, how about if he grabs those clippers and, God forbid, kills someone for breaking in? Will Umar provide bail? See, a man like this has to be given false hope just that he's defending something, when in reality, he's just being used. That's why Umar needs to be shut down. He's taking advantage of people who literally can't defend themselves. Single mothers from the hood, homeless cats, you name it. Now, do you know this woman? Professor Cupcake Joy. Ring a bell? Yes? No? Probably not. But she ties into this story, so we'll get back to her in a second. Some of you may be familiar, though, with this show, American Greed, and if Umar's not careful, he'll be featured in the next one. But if you get a chance, check the episode on YouTube titled The Preacher's Sinister Son. It profiles this guy, Ephraim Taylor. He's out of Kansas, started in his father's church, peddling this socially conscious capital nonsense with a for the people pitch. It's basically Ponzi schemes. But you know the story. I mean, his young dynamo made his first milli before puberty, never mentioning his first deal was a shady real estate investment that bilked $200,000 from members of his father's church. But anyway, things got hot in Kansas, so he migrates down south. First he hits Joel Osteen's church, then to the ATL, to Eddie Long's church. Yeah, that Eddie Long. But anyway, he hits up the Osteen's Lakewood church, and with a Ponzi scheme, with the focus on this couple right here, the Dorios, who invested a significant amount of their life savings to this scheme. And all the while, he's in another state, spending their money on his wife's fledgling singing careers. More on that in a second. But, you know, he moved to the ATL, to New Burst Mega Church, and he scams mostly black congregants into investing into casino machines, of all things, in the name of the Lord, of course. Keep in mind, the feds are keeping tabs on this dude as he's going on, but they can't seem to pin him down. And investors can't seem to reach him. So eventually, long story short, you know, as most Ponzi schemes go, it comes crashing down. He eventually had to pay some of his money to his victims, starting with the Dorios. But right after they received the money, listen to what the wife says.
By April 2011, the Dorios reach a $1.2 million settlement with City Capital, which does not admit any wrongdoing, but it's too late.
It's fine if they say you won. If there's no way to go after the person or get anything, it's pretty empty. And that's basically what happened to us.
So even after this woman and her husband got the money back, they still wanted justice. As I said, the feds couldn't pin him down before. Now watch this.
By September 2012, multiple government agencies are investigating Ephraim Taylor II. Attorneys filed multiple lawsuits against Taylor and City Capital. The Securities and Exchange Commission files civil charges against Taylor, claiming he operated a Ponzi scheme to swindle over $11 million, primarily from African-American churchgoers.
Notice he said it was mainly black folks he swindled, but all this time the government couldn't pin him down until he branched out and started swindling white folks. And lucky for Umar, right now, only black folk are going in on him. See, unfortunately, the law doesn't address our concerns as quickly because we don't have any power. But this guy, Ephraim, was all over the place, giving motivational speeches in every church. Now he's in hiding, but eventually they caught up with dude. And he was working in a massage parlor in Kansas, of all places. So dude went from looking like this to this. Far cry from the Wonder Kid. And don't forget the wife, she wasn't spared either. They are unrecognizable. And check what the white parlor owner says once the media catches up with them.
A lot of people may have said, you know what, let's just wash our hands of these people, let them go.
Oh, absolutely not.
If you're so quick to take someone's money and just leave them high and dry, you're capable of anything.
Again, I'm not saying that whites are more moral or law-abiding, far from it. But when they're screaming for justice, particularly a white woman against a black man, the law will move a little bit more expediently. And oh yeah, now everybody associated with Ephraim has some explaining to do. Now see, a couple of months after the school opened, maybe 5 months to be exact, Umar visited Harlem to Sarnetta's platform. This is a guy who's had roots with for close to 15 years. So for a guy that just achieved his dream of opening a school, wouldn't it make sense for Sa to have a 1 hour sit down with Umar on the conscious couch? Or for him to take the 2 hour drive to Delaware to, sit in his office, tour the swamp while Umar bloviates about the school he's been plugging for 10 years straight? Of course not. Because in the end, Sa's a street nigga, and he recognizes the game. I mean, you're from Harlem, the home of the hustle. You don't have to travel to Delaware to sense that this thing stinks from the ground up. But don't think if Umar catches a shell from this, because Sana isn't part of this in particular, but he can still catch some shrapnel because Umar was around this guy from damn near the beginning. You don't believe me? Notice how quick Eddie Long had to distance himself from Ephraim once things started getting hot.
But I want to let you know, New Birth received, nor myself, any financial blessing or gift from Ephraim Taylor or City Capital. It was strictly done to help members, help people in the community to grow and to have a life. But at this moment, we're joining together as a community to bring answers, to bring resolve, and to come out forward, that you would join me in helping me get their funds back and making an appeal to Ephraim Taylor as I'm making it now. Please do what's right. You're a great fellow, you're a great man, you do great things. Let's settle this so these families can move on. God bless you and thank you for this time.
And Eddie Long was associated with him for what, a year and change? Sarnetta and Umar was damn near 20 years. So instead of Sarnetta interviewing his father for about God knows what, you may want to promote some of the anti-fraud crew. Because, Sai, you don't want to be this guy. Alright, so let's get back to Professor Cupcake Joy, YouTuber, former professor. But this YouTuber, this retiree whose YouTube videos consist of gardening and baking and lifestyle content, she decided to take an interest in Dr. Umar Johnson. So this white woman takes a break from pursuing her takeover of the Martha Stewart Empire and dedicates not one, not two, but 3 videos to Umar. Here she is breaking down your many degrees as a former professor who obviously has gone to school and has degrees. And she's like, how do you have 6 degrees? You see all the question marks in the video titled Dissecting Umar's Degree Lies. That's not good. Here she is breaking it down by credit. See, this lifestyle lady is taking time out to make you her project. Because understand something, a lot of us are taking in the recent events of black men getting killed on camera, Blacks are out there protesting, of course, and you see a lot of whites out there too, and you're like, wow, they really care about us like that. But blacks get killed by racists every day. Black folks scream about it every day only to get shouted down. But under normal circumstances, whites aren't out there protesting with us every day. The fact is, with this quarantine, people are out of work. You got white guilt going on, no sports, and then whites already have a collective King Solomon complex, so they need something to do. And if you think that after 400 years they're just noticing that you're getting your head cracked every day, you're a fool. And if you notice, slowly and surely the tide is shifting back to bashing black men. Thank you, Terry Crews, Nick Cannon, Charles Barkley, the endless conservatives. The tide is shifting back to black men being the enemy. But the quarantine is still in effect. And white folk, and everyone for that matter, they're still looking for something to do. So, Umar, what if this woman, in her boredom, decides to make Umar her little project? Like I said before, if it's just up to a bunch of black folk online throwing shots at Umar, the path to justice is going to move at a snail's pace. But how quickly will it go? If the right white woman makes the right accusation to the right people at the right time. You saw what happened to Ephraim. They found him and his wife in a massage parlor. The way things are going for you, Umar, they'll find you in a sewer hanging out with Splinter and the Turtles before it's all over. So, Umar, I've been watching some of the new videos over the past few weeks. You got one vid, you're chowing down food. So much for the fast, by the way. And I also saw the one where at the school where you're supposedly with contractors at the school. I mean, you weren't walking around and leading them throughout the school like the owner of the school would. So for all we know, you could have been one of the workers at the site. All right? I mean, you also have, now you're talking about getting an online school, which you should have done in the beginning instead of purchasing this dumb. I mean, the way you're walking around this place, this reminds me of another dude from Philly. This guy's name was Tommy Hill. He's a rapper from Philly. And Tommy Hill is one of those rappers who lived a real street life. He got gunned down a couple of years ago, not a couple, like over 10 years ago, but he had a beef with Beans. And he went to this apartment building where supposedly Beanie was, where he was supposedly living, suggesting that after all the Rockefeller money is gone and that Beans is broke, then he cuts to a video where he's walking in what's supposedly his house, and it turned out to be nothing but a hotel lobby. Hey, maybe it's a Philly thing, I don't know. And listen, no shade, New York is now the home of the snitch, so we're in no position to throw any shade to anybody right now. So Umar needs to bring this to a landing. The gig is up. I mean, maybe he ran through all the cash. Maybe he's on drugs. But don't let that his large frame and good speak fool you. I mean, there's a lot of damn near geniuses that are straight up crack fiends. All right, so we need to stop with the personality worship too. I don't expect everybody to be perfect. Don't get me wrong, but with all the evidence that's out there, this man is an open book. And honestly, you look at the guy, look at all the baggage. It really taints the legacy of those that came before us. I was listening to this other chick, this other YouTuber. Her name is Flowers and Jelly. She's another Umar critic, and she brought up Marcus Garvey in one of her videos, and she was like, maybe Marcus Garvey was on that fuck shit. And see, this is why the so-called conscious community needs a detox. So you allow the characters like this to hang around and without checking them, and eventually when they're gone, you get so brainwashed, they become the standard bearer of all this sacred knowledge. Matter of fact, close your eyes and repeat after me. Baba Umar, the elder Umar, the ancestor Tariq, or some shit like that. See, some of you may laugh, but look around this world. Many monuments have been built for lames. It's not just in the black community. So this is something like this is bound to happen. And also, Umar's out there bullying people, putting their family and their lives in jeopardy. I mean, bullies attack folk that they think they can take. I mean, first of all, he's bullying Lennon Honor. Lennon Honor seems very soft-spoken. You got Monty Woodgrain. Monty doesn't look like a big guy. And, you know, Seti and Pharaoh, they're damn near midgets. And then he's threatening women. Meanwhile, No Smoke for Skinny, who seems pretty G'd up. Or Conscious Enemy, same thing. Looks like a big dude as well. Or Eli, the whatever happened to Common Sense guy who's at about 6'7". And it's not to say that the other guys are soft or weak or nothing like that, but Biggie said it best. Niggas bleed. You bleed like I bleed. And honestly, I don't think Umar's that tough. I think if you hit him, he'll probably start crying. But he's clearly has some personal issues to deal with, like all of us. But his are spilling over and affecting everyone involved with him, including his followers. And this is why his personal life had to be put on blast. Look, in most family killer cases, I always take the man's side. I have a couple of friends, I mean, they're in the child support system, and look, the child support system is completely fucked against the man. And I know a few people who are in and out of court, and they not only take care of their kids, they maintain a relationship with their kids. And case in point, OJ. That's the extreme point. So I always take the man's side until further notice in situations like that, except for Umar. I mean, it's pretty clear that Umar has a major lapse in character and judgment. So even if this school doesn't open after 18 months, how can we trust you to run it? You can't even paint it straight. By the way, why are we treating this school like it's the rapture or the Holy Grail or the comeback to save Negroes? I mean, this is not the only African-centered school. Check out this website right here. It's called the SenecaVillageMontessori.com with a list of a bunch of African-based, African-centered schools all across the country, including, oh look, Marcus Garvey School. So the hell with this FDMG. And look, I hope I've gone over everything. Well, now you should know why this guy can't be trusted, why his judgment is jacked up. What is a weed and seed? Look it up. How he's taking advantage of those who can't take care of themselves. Why the pandemic isn't an excuse. Why he and Sarnetta's and all these other platforms supporting him need to run for cover. What a charter school is. What a private school is. Why this leaky tugboat needs to sink already. Why the environment's important. Do your own research. I mean, especially if you're for all the Umarians out there, especially if you're in the DMV area, you're in the tri-state area, especially if you're from the Philly area, don't take my word for anything. Go down and visit this place for yourself. Stop worshiping these clown personalities and check for yourself. I knew Umar was on some shit for a minute. I mean, this was way back when he was online. He was talking about an online school, which made the most sense given all the money he's accumulated, and he was backing away from that. That's when I was done with him. And he doesn't return calls of contractors, his teachers, the resume. I mean, he's done. Don't take my word for anything. Do your own research. Go to the FDMD dump and make sure you wear armor or at least a helmet or bulletproof vest or something, and come during the day. As I've demonstrated, even during the day, even that's not safe. So do your own research. Do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. Do it for the diaspora. And if you're not willing to do it for all of that, at least do it for Leon. So, look, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I have a whole new respect for people who do lives and presentations and all this other stuff. This isn't easy, but it's going to take a little getting used to. So, like the video. Doesn't cost you anything. Like it. Just get the word out there. If you don't like it, hey, don't like it as well. As long as it gets out there. Share, subscribe, and all that other good stuff. Peace. And big up on yourself. And I'm going.